The vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean carries within its timeless waves the legend of a region known the world over as the Bermuda Triangle, a loosely defined area bounded roughly by Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. For decades, it has captured both the imagination of the public and the scrutiny of naval professionals. Among the many vessels and aircraft lost in its broad outlines, the involvement of the United States Navy stands out in stark relief. Training flights vanish, naval support ships go missing, and men and women serving in the Navy find themselves part of mysteries that refuse to yield neat conclusions. This narrative seeks to explore the origins of the Triangle as a maritime and aerial mystery, the Navy's recorded encounters within its boundaries, the scientific explanations behind the disappearances, and the lasting cultural grip of this enigmatic region. From the earliest days of Atlantic seafaring, sailors told of compasses going wild, sudden tempests rising from calm waters, and ships disappearing without a trace. Yet it was only in the 20th century that the Bermuda Triangle became known by name. The phrase was popularized in 1964 by Vincent Gaddis, who collected reports of ships and aircraft lost in the area between Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. The region was one of the busiest transit zones in the world, filled with naval and commercial traffic, yet the concentration of incidents suggested to some a place set apart from ordinary geography. To others, it was a coincidence magnified by storytelling. Either way, the myth was born, and into this myth sailed the United States Navy, unwittingly and unwillingly. One of the earliest and most dramatic Navy disappearances within the Triangle was that of the USS Cyclops. In March 1918, the ship, carrying more than 300 sailors and a full cargo of manganese ore, vanished somewhere between Barbados and Baltimore. There was no distress call, no wreckage, no survivors. For the Navy, it was the single largest loss of life in non-combat history. The official inquiry suggested a storm or structural failure, but the absence of evidence created an enduring vacuum filled by rumor. The Triangle's legend found its first anchor in the steel hull of the Cyclops, resting somewhere in the silent depths. Nearly 3 decades later, another Navy mystery unfolded in the skies above the same region. On December 5, 1945, 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers took off from Naval Air Station Fort Lauderdale for a routine training mission known as Flight 19. Radio communications later revealed growing confusion among the pilots. Their compasses appeared unreliable, landmarks unrecognizable, and the lead pilot reported believing they were lost over the Florida Keys when they were in fact flying northeast into open ocean. The weather worsened, daylight faded, fuel ran low, and then radio contact ceased entirely. In a desperate effort, the Navy dispatched a PBM-5 Mariner rescue plane with 13 men aboard to search for them. Within an hour, that aircraft too vanished. No trace of any of the 6 planes or the 30 men aboard them was ever found. The Navy's official report cited navigational error compounded by compass malfunction and bad weather. Yet the absence of physical evidence made the story irresistible to the public. Newspapers dubbed the region the Devil's Triangle. To the Navy, it was a tragic lesson in the dangers of overwater navigation with primitive instruments. To the world, it was a mystery worthy of mythology. Flight 19 transformed the Triangle from rumor to legend, and the U.S. Navy, despite its sober investigation, became forever linked to the enigma. Over the years, other naval incidents, lost patrol boats, missing aircraft, ships crippled by sudden storms, have added texture to the myth. The Navy, with its constant presence in the Atlantic, could not avoid crossing the imaginary lines of the Triangle. It conducted search and rescue operations, deployed weather reconnaissance, and maintained communications facilities throughout the Caribbean. Its records, meticulous and factual, show countless routine missions passing uneventfully through the same waters. Yet the handful that did not return continue to overshadow the thousands that did. Internally, the Navy has long dismissed supernatural interpretations. Official statements emphasize that navigational error, unpredictable weather, and human factors are more than sufficient to explain nearly every disappearance. The Gulf Stream, a swift, powerful current flowing through the area, can scatter wreckage across hundreds of miles, ensuring that even large debris fields vanish. Sudden squalls can cripple vessels before they can signal distress. Magnetic variation, particularly near Bermuda, can cause compasses to deviate significantly from true north, leading inexperienced navigators astray. These are the elements of oceanic unpredictability that naval officers are trained to respect. Still, even among seasoned sailors, the reputation of the Triangle carries a quiet weight. Stories circulate in wardrooms and on carrier decks. A radar contact that vanished abruptly, an engine that failed for no reason, a sudden loss of communication on a clear day. Such anecdotes, though explainable, accumulate into folklore. The Navy's culture, steeped in precision and professionalism, nevertheless acknowledges that the ocean remains an adversary beyond full control. The Bermuda Triangle, whether real or imagined, represents that adversary's most famous face. Beyond incidents at sea and in the air, the Navy's connection to the Triangle includes its network of bases and research operations. Throughout the 20th century, the United States maintained naval stations in Bermuda and Puerto Rico, using the region as a strategic gateway to the Atlantic. These installations became part of the mythic geography. Radar domes shrouded in mist, communications towers piercing tropical clouds, the hum of classified operations blending with legends of magnetic anomalies. In reality, these bases were logistical and defensive assets, but their secrecy added to public speculation. Some writers even proposed that the Navy's own experiments had triggered the phenomena blamed on the Triangle, a rumor famously amplified by the Philadelphia experiment myth, though no evidence ever linked it to actual Navy projects. Scientific inquiry has since illuminated many of the mysteries once tied to the Bermuda Triangle. Researchers have documented the region's volatile weather patterns, explaining how atmospheric instability can generate microbursts and waterspouts capable of overwhelming aircraft and ships. Oceanographers have mapped the steep undersea slopes and trenches capable of swallowing wreckage whole. Geologists have even studied methane hydrates on the seabed that, under specific conditions, could erupt and temporarily reduce water density, causing ships to sink rapidly without leaving floating debris. While none of these phenomena are unique to the Triangle, their convergence in a heavily trafficked region helps explain why so many incidents have occurred there. For the Navy, such knowledge reinforces the pragmatic rather than the paranormal. Naval aviation today relies on advanced satellite navigation, radar, and communication systems that all but eliminate the uncertainties that plagued Flight 19. Modern ships possess redundant sensors and fail-safes to ensure position awareness even during magnetic disturbances. Yet the Navy's historical connection to the Triangle continues to shape training doctrines emphasizing situational awareness, cross-checking of instruments, and respect for the ocean's unpredictability. Culturally, the Bermuda Triangle endures because it fuses fact and fear, technology and mystery, and the Navy's involvement provides credibility and gravity. These are not fanciful fishermen or thrill-seeking adventurers, but disciplined servicemen who disappeared despite training and protocol. In that contrast lies the story's power. The Triangle becomes a symbol of nature's supremacy over human mastery, of the sea's quiet defiance of military precision. Decade after decade, filmmakers, novelists, and documentarians have returned to the Triangle, often casting the U.S. Navy as both protagonist and witness. In some portrayals, the Navy becomes the explorer, daring to uncover the secret. In others, it is the keeper of forbidden knowledge concealing the truth. Reality is far more ordinary, yet equally compelling. A military institution confronting the limits of human control over the elements. Each investigation file, each salvage report, each cause undetermined entry contributes to the aura of unsolved mystery. To step back from the myth, is to see the Bermuda Triangle not as a supernatural trap, but as a mirror reflecting human fascination with the unknown. The Navy's long record of service in those waters testifies to courage and persistence in the face of that unknown. The disappearances of the Cyclops, Flight 19 and others, are not evidence of paranormal activity but of the ocean's enduring dominance. They remind us that even the most advanced technology cannot erase risk. Every launch into the Atlantic carries the same ancient truth that sailors once whispered: the sea keeps her secrets. In modern times, the Navy's engagement with the Triangle continues in quieter forms. Routine patrols, oceanographic research, and disaster relief missions cross its boundaries daily. Ships and submarines traverse its depths, aircraft fly above it, and communications networks hum through its skies. The Triangle remains a point on a map, not a portal, but the Navy's legacy within its story ensures that each journey through those coordinates carries an invisible echo of the past. When night falls over the Atlantic and the water glows with reflected starlight, it is easy to imagine the ghosts of lost ships gliding beneath the waves. Somewhere in that darkness, perhaps the Cyclops rests, her steel bones wrapped in coral. Somewhere above, the echoes of Flight 19 still call out across static-filled radios, pilots searching for land that never appears. For the Navy, these are not legends, but memories carved into institutional history. The men who vanished are honored not as victims of mystery, but as sailors who face the same peril every mariner confronts: the unpredictable ocean. And yet, for all its official explanations, the Triangle continues to evoke a certain unease. The human mind, drawn to pattern and wonder, refuses to accept randomness as satisfying. A single vanished ship might be tragedy. A series becomes destiny. The Navy's connection, meticulously recorded and publicly scrutinized, provides the framework for both science and story to coexist. Each year, new generations of recruits learn of Flight 19, not only as a cautionary tale in navigation, but as a symbol of respect for forces beyond calculation. In the end, the Bermuda Triangle and the United States Navy are bound by a shared truth. Both represent humanity's quest to master the sea. The Triangle stands as the sea's reminder that mastery is never complete. For every radar screen that flickers, every compass that wavers, every pilot who glances at the endless horizon, the legend whispers softly that some corners of the world resist full understanding. The Navy, built on discipline and reason, continues its mission through those waters, carrying within its history the echoes of those who vanished. The story of the Bermuda Triangle is thus not merely a mystery, it is a testament. It speaks of courage, of inquiry, of loss, and of the thin line between order and chaos upon which sailors and aviators balance. The Navy's connection endures not because of conspiracy or myth, but because in confronting the unknown, it reveals the human heart of exploration. The waves close over wreckage, the years erase signals, but the questions remain. In that restless curiosity lies the essence of both the legend and the institution forever intertwined with it.